Hi everybody, welcome. Today I have Ann Vandersteel with me today, and we are back. Looks like we're in a dungeon, but we are at a conference, and we've been learning about how to restore the republic and what that means. And you've traveled around the country for a long time, fighting for people's rights and standing up for what you believe in, and speaking the truth with world leaders like Flynn and others. Tell me what you've been learning here. We're at David Straight's conference outside of Dallas, and what have you learned, and what have you changed about your status?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak to your audience, Rosie. This is a journey. This is about really uncovering what we didn't know that we have been born into and has been covered up and obfuscated because they didn't want us to know the truth about who we really are as free people. We all think because we have, quotes, a constitution and we're supposed to be a constitutional republic that we are in fact free. What we've learned through this process of becoming an American state national is that we really aren't free at all. We are debt slaves. We are slaves to every single big technology company, to big food, to big pharma, to the big military industrial complex. And our tax dollars that we're writing checks to the Internal Revenue Service isn't even chartered by our Constitution. In fact, it's a foreign corporation for which that money is going to the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. So that money isn't even going to our U.S. Treasury, which is the treasury of we the people. So the process of becoming an American state national, you learn that you think the status of becoming a U.S. citizen is so coveted. In fact, it really is a deprivation of your God-given rights, because in 1868, after the end of the Civil War, states that wanted to be readmitted to the Union were forced to sign and ratify a treaty, or excuse me, an amendment, the 14th Amendment, which made you a United States citizen. When they incorporated the United States in 1871, you then became part of that 10 square mile federal jurisdiction and a federal citizen, which forces you into their statutes and codes and bylaws. And we are not part of that. We are not part of a corporation. We are free people. So they stole our sovereignty, they stole our state sovereignty, and they made us all federal citizens, which exchanged our God-given rights for government privileges, which include the government liabilities to fund those privileges, i.e. the debt. So this is what you learn when you become a state national, and we have all corrected our status. At least the folks that are here are on this journey. 2.5 million Americans last year corrected their status as well. We're truly free people, and we are part of we the people. I'm no longer a United States citizen, which is now removing me from that whole debt slave society. The journey is extremely exciting, but the amount of information you learn along the way is incredible, because you get a downloaded American history documented by case law, treaties, and other examples, all very well footnoted and annotated. And this is, in fact, the truth of what has happened. And the story that we've been told along the way is complete fabrication, but it's to serve the cabal and the debt slave international bankers. So here's where we are today, and we're free. You and I are free. Yep. We've corrected our status. My United States government, or I should say the United States government, has reflected my status in my passport that they issued me, noting me no longer as a U.S. citizen, but as an American state national.
An American state national is very important. What I'm learning here is that basically when we're born, we're all taken in and we're given a corporation, all caps name.
Correct.
That right there is the clue that we have a QSIP number and we're being bought and sold.
Right, slave trade.
Yeah.
They're profiting off of our QSIP numbers.
So we're basically being human trafficked.
Correct.
Right.
Well, we're being traded.
Sort of.
We're traded on the bond market,
right.
Which, I mean, if people have heard of PIMCO and other municipal bonds, they're worth hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars. And that money is our money. And you learn things like, if you've ever been pulled over for a traffic ticket, Rosie, that generates a case, which generates a QSIP number and an IBAN number, and then that's sold to a bond trader and it's put on the market. And those bonds become worth tens of billions or hundreds of billions of dollars just in one bond fund. And there are thousands and thousands of these bond funds. So we're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars here. That is our money. Yeah. And so you will learn how to gain access and claim your trust and get control of that. You can learn how to take dominion of all areas of the land, which is your common law, the air, the ecclesiastical or the trust law, and water, which is admiralty law. And as a U.S. citizen, you are stuck in admiralty law because they're treating you as a commercial dead entity with your all caps name, as an all caps incorporation. So only all caps entities do business in the court of admiralty law, the court of the water. We're free people now. We're on the law of the land, God's law of nature. That is the superior court. That is the superior jurisdiction, and you want to claim jurisdiction of your status and correct your status so that you can operate in that particular jurisdiction, which is what we've done. It's very exciting.
It is really exciting, and at first it's a little scary because when you hear the words, renounce citizenship, but when we learned what the word citizen meant.
Municipal servant.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not a municipal servant.
Nope.
I am a free woman.
Yes.
Basically sovereign, but we learned that sovereign citizen is an oxymoron.
Correct.
And that this isn't any type of conspiracy. This is not. I mean, they did conspire. The bankers came in and made a corporation called the United States.
Right.
And bankrupted it several times and used.
It's now called White House Inc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
White House Inc. is who is administrating that now.
That's correct.
Only corporations can do executive.
Joe Biden
orders.
is the president of White House Inc. Donald Trump was the president of the United States Inc. And he bankrupted that corporation and has discharged it. And now Joe Biden, they've changed the name. And this is what corporations that bankrupt themselves do. They just, bankrupt this corporation. If you've ever been a stock investor in a corporation that went bankrupt and your stock went worthless, but somehow those same people went started another company and you're like, hey, wait a minute, you just took off with my money. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's happening to you, the citizen.
Which is so crazy because people fight so hard to try to become a citizen, everything, and then to tell them, hey. So it's also just changing the diction of saying, hey, I'm correcting my status.
Right.
Now I'm a Floridian, a Pennsylvanian, just like the founding fathers.
Correct.
So we do have a United States passport, but we have, I believe, limited diplomatic immunity.
Correct.
Something like that, and it looks a little differently when it's scanned at the airport or anything like that.
Right.
So it is really, really exciting, and I know a lot of people have done it, and from what I'm looking at online, there's been some leaks this week. I've seen some big names that have also corrected their status that we don't know about. I'm not going to release that information right this minute, but it can be found, and we would definitely do that, in a different forum.
Can we say something? Right now at this conference, there's people with top secrets, TSSCI, top secret clearance. There's federal judges here. There's chiefs of police here. There's been CIA agents. There has been other border patrol agents. There have been, a whole bunch of other folks that are in the federal, high-level generals. I know several that have gone through this process. So this is legitimate. It is real. The conspiracy that you hear about is, of course, the disinformation people that are out there that don't want you to know about this because they want to keep you in bondage. They want to keep you paying into the system and keeping them in high cotton while the rest of us are the debt slaves. They don't want this to be undone because if you defund the swamp by reclaiming your status and reclaiming your trust, your estate, you then defund the swamp. They no longer can access your trust, which is what we just talked about previous, about the QSIP numbers and all about the trillions and billions of dollars that are out there. So this is what they don't want you to know. And I'm not talking about doing this because we're going to be driving around in Maseratis. That's not the point.
No.
The point is about being free and honoring and glorifying God, which is what this covenant, the second covenant nation was founded upon, right?
Right.
Creator is mentioned 4 times in our founding fathers documents.
Right.
This is what we're talking about here.
So talk to me about restoring the republic, because to me that is the real thing. I mean, a lot of people get into this because they come at it from different angles. They want to, alleviate some court issues that they have. They want to alleviate, tax issues, or they want to alleviate people come into learning about it for different reasons, to become free for different reasons. I personally feel like we need to restore the republic and let people know that this fraud had been perpetrated on us. We didn't even know, and now there's some high-level people getting involved, and now people are starting to wake up. It really is like the Great Awakening is happening because it's exponential now.
It is exponential, and the key to restore the republic is just in those words. We are not a constitutional republic right now. We have deteriorated past democracy, and if you look at everything that's happening right now today, the show that we see going on with Joe Biden printing fiat currency to the billions of dollars into Ukraine, to a Nazi president right now, somebody who is basically installed, part of the regime they installed before they put Poroshenko in there. Look at what's going on around the world. This is not honoring anybody that's the citizens of the world, the free people of the world. This is honoring themselves. So how do you have a republic when you don't have representation of the people, by the people, for the people, which is what a republic is? When you and I have no say whatsoever about the money that's getting printed and shipped all over the world, about leaving $85 billion in Afghanistan, about think of all the events that we've learned about, 9/11. We understand that was about hiding the fact that they wanted that gold below the basements in the World Trade Center. There's just the list goes on. Were there really weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? We know that's to be false too. So there's so much more that we are now uncovering. Look at the medical fraud. Look at the fact they made up COVID. Look at the fact they've injected people with bioweapons that are making people sick around the world. This is all about perpetrating in their control, depopulation agendas they put out in plain sight for the world to see. Look at what the Georgia Guidestones said. Now, isn't that interesting? We've seen the Guidestones crumble. We've seen an obelisk at the Vatican, an obelisk in Asia. We've seen some pretty significant things. So this war that is happening right now is happening in real time. So if we're going to restore the Republic, we're going to do it because we the people are reconstituting it, which is what our Founding Fathers documents clearly say. When in times of the government of tyranny, it is time for the people to either alter or abolish. We have got to alter and or abolish what we have in front of us right now and restore our republic so we have government of, by, and for the people.
There have to be enough of us, that's the 100 monkey theory, there have to be enough of us stand up. We either hang together or we're going to hang separately. I mean, when I found out that the city had a Dun and Bradstreet number, and I saw them for myself, and the court is a for-profit entity with a Dun and Bradstreet number. Who would have believed that?
Well, think about this. If you've ever lived around the country as I have, I've lived in and out of municipalities. I've lived in and out of counties that were either incorporated or unincorporated. Mm-hmm. I never gave it a second thought. It was just like, that's the way it is. But when you stop and you go, well, what does that really mean? Why would it be incorporated? Well, anytime if you're a business owner and you set up a corporation, it's what? To have a liability shield to protect you from your business doing something onerous on somebody else. Why would government incorporate itself? To protect themselves and give themselves a liability shield to protect them from us, we the people. So the government is completely set up to make sure that no matter what they do, they are not accountable. And we're going to remove that liability shield. We're going to unincorporate government because government is you and me, the people. And if we have to be held accountable, that's how the whole system is designed. It's a check and balance system, so that way we don't go running amok and making policies and mandates and forcing needles in people's arms. Take the needle or you lose the job.
Right.
This is what has gone so horribly wrong in our country, and not only here but around the world.
Briefly talk about that with DeSantis. There was a clause in some legislation that he signed about being able to force vaccinate people, whether he knew it was in there or not. Talk a little bit about that and what you're doing with the new foundation and moving forward.
Okay, so I am now co-chair of the Zelenko Foundation, Dr. Vladimir Zelenko, who stood in the gap for all of us when this COVID hit back in early 2020. He was the one who discovered that hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, and zinc was the magic bullet to stop COVID in early treatment, including people that were suffering. President Trump talked about it. The bill that you're talking about with respect to Governor DeSantis, for which Dr. Zelenko met Governor DeSantis and talked about the protocols and how he could really limit the exposure for the Floridians down here, was very effective. And Governor DeSantis enacted a lot of what Dr. Zelenko spoke about. But Governor DeSantis did re-sign a bill that actually includes a clause in there where the state of Florida can actually put a needle in the people who live in Florida's arms if in fact they deem there's a public health emergency enough that would warrant such. That was actually started by Jeb Bush, and that is a bill they just re-signed. I have no knowledge whether or not Governor DeSantis is aware of that. I would like to believe he is unaware of it and needs to be made aware of it. And if he was aware of it, I think he would actually amend it to have it removed, at least shoot for that in the legislative process, because that goes against everything else that he's shown us thus far as governor. He has made the state incredibly free down there. I'm a Floridian, you're a Floridian.
Right.
Thank goodness for that. We have the best governor going right now in the 50 states. So I do believe that it's incumbent upon us. Now, Florida is trying to stand up a state assembly to run in parallel with the corporate government of Florida, the all-cap state of Florida, corporation government, that Governor DeSantis is an employee, a corporate employee is governor. He's pretending to be the governor. He's not of the people because he's a for-profit corporation governor. But he acts as a governor of the people in the sense that he's doing less harm to us than, say, a for-profit corporation would be, as we've learned with Big Pharma. The big for-profit, big corporations, the Big Pharma, the CDC, the NIH, the FDA, they've all done massive harm to us. Right. So standing up a state assembly and running in parallel, eventually we will reclaim jurisdiction over the state of the people, by the people, for the people. And just like I tell people all the time, the district of corruption, the dumpster fire in DC is irrelevant. We need to stop listening to those people. We need to ignore them and say, take your mandates and shove it where the sun don't shine. Yeah. And we need to reconstitute our local government most importantly, that's what you've got to start. As General Flynn always says,
right.
Local action has national impact.
Right, and starting with your sheriffs and what we can do in each of our counties.
Correct.
So we're going to work together and see what we can do to come together, to learn, align, and bring the people of Florida. That's who we're talking to, but you could be listening to this in any state and find your own people to assemble with there and to learn about how to restore the republic. In no way are we calling for any type of, coup d'etat or anything like that, but if you peacefully align and peacefully assemble ourselves together, real change can happen, because we've seen that over and over in the last couple of years, where all of a sudden people are having to start standing up for their rights. I mean, look what's happening in Sri Lanka right now. Look what's happening with the farmers coming together.
That's right.
So that's what we intend to do.
That's right.
And so, tell everybody where they can find your work and what you're going to come back on air. You're not going to be doing as much of the Steel Truth anymore, but talk about your new show.
Sure. Our new show is called The Zelenko Report. You'll find us live 1 to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday Eastern on Brighteon.tv, where they have a beautiful live stream all day long. And then that show will be uploaded on Rumble and all the other channels across multiple platforms. You'll find it on the web everywhere. Our website is zfreedomfoundation.com, and you can find me on all social media at Ann Vandersteel, everywhere except Twitter, because they don't like me anymore. That's been a while.
Well, then it seems like you're in good company with that since Trump got kicked out of there a long time ago.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking
Thanks,
to me.
Rosie.
We're going to do it again. So
Absolutely.
This isn't the end of it. I know you probably have a lot of questions after watching this, and we're going to all be finding out the answers together. And the Great Awakening has begun. So, all right. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you soon.